so I'm begging you to play.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Create, Nourish, Move. I'm here today to talk about boundaries, and specifically boundaries that create more freedom. Sometimes we think about boundaries as a negative thing, as a constrictive thing, but usually when I have too many options, I end up feeling more suffocated by that and actually overwhelmed. So I once had a workshop called Radical Openness that was all about being open to opportunity, going with the flow, seeing what happens and how really amazing things can come out of that. And while openness is really important, so are boundaries, because openness is required for us to realize and pursue our dreams, but boundaries protect us. Unfortunately, we can't do it all. Recently, I've been saying yes to a lot of things, which I feel like I have a lot of passions and things that I want to do between my health coaching and yoga, art, friends, jewelry. There's so many things and I want to do it all. And when I say yes to it all, I feel like I can't possibly fit any more into my day. And for someone who travels full time and lives in a camper van, I shouldn't be that stressed out. So I had to look back and say, what ground rules can I make that can protect me from this depletion and this overwhelm, and then realize all that I can do with the space that I do have. So setting some ground rules is not a bad thing, and it allows us to really focus on what things are important and strain out the things that could be detrimental to our relationships, our friendships, our time with ourselves to just enjoy. So I've been asking myself a few questions to weed out things that might not be helping me get to my goals or making me actually more constricted. If I say yes to something that I know doesn't make me happy, then I'm really not doing myself a favor. I'm not doing that person a favor either. Of course, sometimes we need to go and help someone do something that you didn't necessarily want to do. And I'm not saying say no to all of those things. I'm just saying check in. So my questions that I ask myself are, one, does it bring me joy? So is it making me feel stressed out and negative, or am I happy to do it? Is it something I enjoy? Is it something that lifts me up? And the second is, does it help people? So even if isn't something you're super stoked on, if you're helping someone or doing some good in the world or giving back, that's another thing to check in with. For me, that's a priority. Not with everything, but with some things, I want to give back. And in yoga, we call it seva. So seva is selfless service. And I think it's important to find some of that in your life. It doesn't have to be in every single thing that you do, but if you can find a way to practice that outreach and give back, I think it's really worth it. And it'll help to level out some of the other things that might not seem like it fits in that way in your life. And the third thing I ask myself is, does it fit in with my values? So if there's something that directly goes against what I believe in or directly goes against something I'm working towards, then I shouldn't do it. And those are just some simple ways to weed out things that could be pulling me in the wrong direction. Another thing that it's important to check back in with a lot of the time and create boundaries around are friendships or relationships, things in your life that could be pulling you back, which can happen. Things change. Could even be your job, something like that. If there's things in your life that are dragging you down, you have to set boundaries around that so you can stay strong in what you believe in and stay strong in who you are. So if you have a friend that's been really negative and complaining all the time, and you've tried to help them, you've done what you can, and they're just really negative or nasty, they could be bringing you down with them. And that's detrimental for your goals. That's keeping you from where you want to be going. And it's okay to let those things shift and change and create boundaries to protect yourself and to protect your energy, so you have enough to give back to other people in your life who bring you up. You have enough to take care of yourself. Boundaries are self-respect, and I don't think that freedom is to live limitless with no boundaries and no structure whatsoever. I think that freedom is to speak your own truth and live within that truth and do what is right and authentic for you. It also ties back to our yoga practice. So we want to create structure in our bodies. We want to follow alignment and work with our bones. So in yoga, we call it our optimal blueprint. It's when you get the most benefit out of a yoga pose, when you're lined up in the correct way. We want to use our bones and our skeleton and our anatomy to support us instead of muscling through and straining through something. So when we create those boundaries of hugging in our muscles to the midline of our body, of expanding outward from that structural place, we have way more freedom in the pose. So we feel more open. We feel like we have more room to reach maybe a peak pose that we didn't think we could otherwise. So all of this ties back into yoga and your yoga off your mat as well. So sometimes we have to create boundaries in relationships. Sometimes we have to create boundaries at work. So if somebody's asking and asking so much of you and taking from you and they're not giving back in some way, you have to call it and cut it sometimes. You don't always have to keep going and keep spreading yourself so thin. Another example right now for me is like, where are we going to live? We keep thinking like, where are we going to end up? My boyfriend is from France. I'm from the States. We met in Nicaragua, and it's kind of complicated sometimes to think about that. And we already have a lot of options, but we thought at first that we didn't, or at least I thought that, because we do have a dog. We don't have any like job we're tied to or anything like that. We don't have kids. We can go pretty much anywhere, but we do have a dog, so it puts some limitations. But I think that's a good thing, because if we could go literally anywhere, I think I'd be so overwhelmed that I wouldn't know where to start. But we just work in the structure that we have. We work in the box that we have and see where we can break it if we need to. And otherwise, we just find the good that's inside of that space. So wherever you are, hopefully you can do the same. Know that that creating boundaries and having some what you might have thought of as limitations before can actually crack things open for you and make things really clear within that space. So if this is interesting to you, I'm teaching a workshop at Pradipika Yoga in Clinton, Connecticut on December 14th. And this is called Boundaries for Freedom. We'll feel what it's like to create boundaries in the body and pursue that in a yoga practice. And we'll also work on what personal boundaries we can create for ourselves so we can feel more free, more open, and more in tune with possibility. So thanks for tuning in, and stay wildly well.
Please don't go, I need you, so I'm begging Seal to play. Please don't go, I need you, so I